Well, hello, welcome. Fulhamish watch-along. Brazil versus Serbia. Dan Cook alongside me. How excited are you for this game?
Really excited, JK. I think this is going to be a good one. I think we've had a good. I mean, we've had a good week so far of football, but I think we've been especially had a good day. I think we've got an interesting game coming here. It's. I was slightly surprised. I don't know what you think about how Brazil have lined up. I think they've gone
Yeah.
relatively well. I say relatively very attacking. I think they're backing themselves obviously to dominate possession, which you would expect.
Mm.
But I think Casemiro is going to have to do a lot of work in that midfield. If you're looking at, he's playing alongside Paqueta, and then you've got a front four of Rafinha, Neymar, Vinicius, and Richarlison.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, and then obviously all eyes on Mitro, hoping slightly conflicted as a half Albanian to be supporting Serbia,
Oh, really?
but Alexander Mitrovic is a very special case.
Yeah, our own Sammy James is actually at the game today, which is so exciting. You talk about the team of Brazil. That is with a bench of Ederson, Dani Alves, Fabinho, Jesus, Fred, Martinelli, Militao, to name a few. Rodrigo, Alex Telles. It's unbelievable squad depth. You're struggling to pick an 11 from that, really, wouldn't you?
I mean, it's nuts. If you talk, and then this is why they're favourites coming into this, right? And in the whole tournament in general, because their squad is ridiculous. You're just a squad full of players playing across the top 5 leagues in Europe for major teams in those divisions. It's impressive. It's very, very impressive. But we've seen this before. You know, Brazil are always really historically quite strong, but tournament football is an interesting one, and it wouldn't be the first time that Brazil would have failed to live up to expectations, I think. So they're still going to have to play well. It's not enough just to have a good squad, I don't think.
Yeah, the BBC have got it graphics up as like a 4-3-3 with Casemiro sitting with the two Paqueta and Neymar as more advanced midfielders. So we'll see how they sort of take shape when the kickoff starts. And the game is 2 minutes away from starting, really, isn't it? And let's have your score prediction then before we get going.
I think this is a really, really difficult one to call. I think Serbia are going to be stubborn. I think they've got some very, very good players in there. You know, if we look beyond Mitrovic, you look at the creative capabilities of Dusan Tadic, who, still at 34 years of age is a very good footballer. He's their captain. But then behind that, Sergei Milinkovic-Savic is a player I really, really like. Watching him for Lazio this season before, he's been exceptional. He can do pretty much everything. He's a goal threat. He's great out of possession as well. It's a hard one to call. I think ultimately Brazil are favourites, and in an ordinary game, I think you would expect, I wouldn't be surprised, a 2 or 3-0 win. But the way this tournament has gone so far, this definitely wouldn't be the biggest of shocks, I don't think. I think this is a strong Serbia side. They're here on merit. I think they'll give them a game. What do you think?
Oh, I'm not sure. I think given Mitrovic's form, given the fact they've got the likes of, like you say, Tadic and Milinkovic-Savic, there is creativity there. It's not like there's just one focal point in Mitrovic and no one who can really provide for him. Like we've seen with Fulham, there are players who can provide for Mitrovic, and if those players, Tadic and Milinkovic-Savic and all those other players can get in and around Mitrovic, then there's definitely an opportunity there. Guys, let us know your score prediction. Rick Cardis has gone with 3-2. Mitro gets 2, 3-2 Serbia. 1-0 Serbia. Can't think who will score. Fantastic. Rick also says, I think I'm more excited about this match than I am about the USA men's national team playing that small island club tomorrow. Brilliant. Yeah, England, USA this time tomorrow as well will be fantastic. But here we go. We're ready to go. We say 90 minutes of football. It could be well more than that given the trends we've seen in added time this World Cup, which, by the way, has been such an interesting aspect. As we do kick off here, Brazil get us underway kicking from left to right. And that's added another spark to this World Cup because, with late drama, in a situation where a team needs to get through or a team is fighting to get into the next round of the competition, a late goal could force it to extra time. It's very exciting to have that lots of added time, isn't there?
Yeah, and I think ultimately it's justified as well. I think we're all frustrated by the time wasting you see in football, and it's game management, but ultimately it's not what football's there for. We want to see 90 minutes of the ball in play as much as possible. And so maybe they've gone too far, but I think ultimately it's a good idea. I think one thing I'm really interested to see in this, JK, is this is a big challenge for Mitro. If you look at the two centre-backs he's coming up against, unbelievable amounts of experience. You know, Thiago Silva has done everything in football. And despite being 37 years of age, he is still playing well. And then you've got Marquinhos alongside him, who is a fantastic partner. And that's going to be a real challenge. I think it's a physical battle he can win, but I think they know that. And I think they are very intelligent centre-backs who maybe won't try and win those physical battles, but will focus on just trying to keep them quiet instead.
Long free kick from Serbia to go straight out of play for a goal kick. This is going to be very, very exciting. I'm really intrigued to see how this one goes, honestly. I think that Brazil probably coming into it was one of the favourites. We saw Argentina lose to Saudi Arabia, saw Germany lose to Japan. We saw Portugal just about sneak past Ghana earlier on in a very entertaining second half. That one ended 3-2 just before this one was kicked off. And so far, I suppose the tempo has been quite slow. Nothing really happened. Brazil are dominating the ball, really, and they've got it in their own half right now. And can you see anything from the setup? Have they stuck to that formation that the BBC shown the graphic, or can you see something else?
I think so. I think largely Neymar's going to take on quite a free roaming role, I would imagine. I think that's he's going to have license to pretty much do as he please and try and affect the game in key areas. I'm surprised to see, as they're currently doing it and have done before already in this game, Serbia looking keen to press relatively high. They've not sat off. They're pressing the back line, which is, you know, we saw it as Saudi Arabia did the same against Argentina. They didn't sit back. They tried to take the game to Argentina, and it looks like Serbia are trying to do the same thing here, which I think will it leads to a more interesting game, if nothing else.
I think so. If Serbia are aggressive, they'll force Brazil to play out from the back. They'll force mistakes and maybe pounce on it. As Brazil are struggling to get out their own final third at the moment, they've got it thrown on the far side. And I just wonder, with all this attacking talent that Brazil have, you know, we saw it with Germany, we saw it with Argentina. It sometimes isn't quite enough. And, you know, we saw Saudi Arabia play that high line and play the offside trap on Argentina, and Argentina fell for it completely. And they took advantage of it. Saudi Arabia. Here goes Rafinha on the edge of the box, down the side, down the right hand side, cleared away. And
that's where I think we're going to see where Brazil are going to see their space in this game, but with this high press and Serbia playing a three at the back. If they can break that press, I think that space opens up in wide areas. It gets awkward for Serbia to try and defend it. And I mean, when you're talking wingers of Rafinha and Vinicius, that sounds pretty dangerous. So I think Serbia are going to have to be careful there that their fullbacks don't get caught too high up the pitch, which is tricky if you're also asking them to press.
Are you surprised that they've gone with Richarlison over Gabriel Jesus in terms of league form and injury status that Richarlison had coming into the tournament?
I am. I've been very impressed with Jesus's all-round play. Obviously, I think he's still at a stage in his career where he's not quite got that knack of putting the ball in the net. I think he needs to improve at that. But his all-round link-up play, his actual technical ability on the ball has been exceptional for Arsenal this season. And so to see Richarlison start is an interesting one. I guess the justification is potentially his tendency to drift into those channels a little bit more. He's good in the air. He's a threat from balls into the box. But I wouldn't say those are necessarily things that Jesus can't do himself. So it's an interesting one.
There is Mitrovic with his first real involvement, dropping deep and switching the play. We've seen that plenty of times this season for Fulham. And here they come down the right-hand side with Dusan Tadic, cuts back. Can he find a pass on the edge of the area? Cuts back again. He's got to get his head up. Drifts the ball in. It's not quite good enough for Mitrovic. It's headed away at the front post, really. But Serbia are enjoying a little bit of a spell now.
Yeah. And again, this is Mitrovic doing exactly what he does for us. And you can see that there as Dusan Tadic had the ball out wide. He just peels away to that back post. He sits on Danilo. He stays away from Thiago Silva. He stays away from Marquinhos and he backs himself against the fullback.
And of course, that was
early yellow card.
Oh,
which I
yellow
think,
card's coming out. Is that Mitrovic? Or was it? I think it's number 2,
no,
isn't it?
It was for a challenge in midfield, which I think for Pavlovic, which when 5 minutes in against that front line of Serbia of Brazil, I don't think you want to see that.
Mitrovic remonstrating with the referee, pleading for no yellow card, but it is going to be a yellow for number 2, which is Pavlovic. Yellow card, first yellow of the game. That's 10 booking points if you're on that sort of motive for tonight. And yeah, I mean, they've got to be aggressive, haven't they, Serbia? Of course, that's Neymar, of course, drawing the first foul as well. We'll probably see a lot of that tonight. But so far, so good. There's been that one threat from Rafinha, the ball into the box. And apart from that, Brazil have struggled to sort of find any penetrate or struggled to penetrate the back three of Serbia at this moment in time.
I think they've set up well so far, Serbia. You can see that they're by playing 3 centre backs and having those wing backs, it does allow you to defend quite wide. And by doing that and having Mladenovic and Zivkovic on both flanks, it's a way of trying to keep those wingers quiet. Whether that frees up space in the middle is an interesting one, because that seems to be where Neymar's starting to drift into. It does look to me more like Paqueta's playing alongside Casemiro with Neymar slightly more advanced. That seems to be the shape they've gone with, which I think does make sense. I think it provides them with a little bit of extra. Oh, that's brilliant from Mitrovic.
Go on, Mitro. Great header. Oh, into the box. Great defending. Great defending.
I mean, that's exactly him, isn't it? And it's so good to see that winning those headers, winning those flick-ons, it's going to be key for Serbia. They're not necessarily going to have the most of the ball, so they're going to have to make the most of those opportunities by going long, backing him to win it, and having Sergej Milinkovic-Savic running off him is dangerous.
Sort of unlucky there from Milinkovic-Savic. He got into a good position and the ball sort of fell away from him and it came off his own heel and they lost possession. But that Neymar's shirt just come off. How bizarre. Unbelievable. This is going to be very interesting because 2 very different styles of play. Lots of flair in the Brazil team, a focal point in Serbia's team in Mitrovic. But Milinkovic-Savic is such a tidy little player, isn't he? And he can definitely he does score a lot of goals for Lazio. And he was advancing forward there, wasn't he?
I believe since he made his debut in Serie A for Lazio, no one has scored more headed goals in that league. Wow. Which, as a central midfielder, is quite impressive. But he really does pose a set piece threat. And when you add into that Mitrovic and the set piece abilities of Tadic, that's, I think, where Serbia will be looking to try and get their opportunities as Rafinha starts to run down this right wing.
That's nice. That's a nice play. Vinicius on the left cuts in. It's a good shape they're holding at the moment, Serbia. They've got all the men behind the ball, bar Mitrovic, basically, who's just sort of waiting for the. Oh, that's a good ball.
That's it. This is what it's. I think that's really good defending. There's, they've packed the box out there. The ball comes into Neymar, but ultimately he doesn't have the time or the space to try and create anything. It was a very, very good ball into him, breaking the lines, but well defended from Serbia.
And here they come, Serbia. It was all started from Mitrovic with the hold-up header, and they sort of regained the possession, and now just inside their own half, advancing into the Brazil half. Now they've got the ball, and you can see Brazil's shape. They've gone into a back 5 out of possession. I think out of position they're playing up, or maybe it is a 4 with Casemiro just sitting just in front of the 4.
Yeah, I think they're just they're wary of the threat that is posed by Mitrovic, I think, and they are just dropping an extra man in there. I think for more for the purpose of dealing with second balls rather than anything. Got a comment here from Rick Cardis, JK, about interested to see how fit Mitro looks. What do you think? As we're 10 minutes in, how's he looking to you?
Well, I mean, he's done everything you sort of want him to do in terms of hold-up play and build-up play from Mitrovic. He's swung a ball out wide. He's held it. He literally on the ball now, wins the foul, holds it up, and actually, you know what? That's nasty on the back of his almost Achilles there, really.
Again,
No, the foot.
fantastic centre forward play again.
Yeah.
Just holding that
Draws the
ball
foul
up.
quite easily. I mean, Paqueta, who obviously played against him, actually didn't play against him when West Ham played Fulham, but that was sort of an easy foul, and that's all from Mitrovic's strength and hold-up play. And I think so far he's not really put a foot wrong. Really, he's just doing that very good centre forwards play that you do expect from Mitrovic, and that is why I don't think Brazil can be, running off favourites in this game, because I think that what Serbia have is that centre forward who can just not only score goals but link up play. And I really do feel like they stand a chance in not only this game but in the whole group and in the whole tournament, Dan.
No, absolutely. I mean, you'd have to get your calculator out in this game to count the number of times that I think Mitro's going to win a physical battle, win a duel in midfield, or just actively be that focal point. You can see so often how many times that first ball already looks to go to Mitrovic. They look to use him, as Fulham do, as that central pivot, as a way to build off the forward attacks. I think it's exciting. It's exciting, isn't it, JK, to see our man on the big stage.
It's sort of, everyone says, the tournament doesn't start until Brazil play, but I'm really interested in their opponents today in Serbia, and I really want them to do well. And we were unlucky because we would have been playing them in the Euros if it hadn't been for Mitrovic's missed penalty and Scotland getting through. So it's nice to see them at a major tournament again, because the last time we saw Mitrovic at a major tournament was when we didn't know if we were going to sign him permanently. Obviously, we did in the end, but it was after the promotion back in 2018. Vinicius Junior drops the shoulder. That's brilliant. To the byline, pulls it across, and that is a corner.
It's very good defending from Andrija Zivkovic as well, which I think is impressive. He's got a big task on his hands in this game as a man who is generally more of a natural winger. He's going to have a lot of responsibility playing on that right wing back position, dealing with Vinicius, and he's done well there. But I think Vinicius is going to know already that he's just got that slight beating of him when it comes to pace. Oh, that's an incredible effort from Neymar, direct from the corner. He's spotted Milinkovic-Savic off his line, and I think he's hit the crossbar.
Yeah, that was swung in.
It's a good save. It's a good save from Milinkovic-Savic. He reacted well there.
He's obviously been playing FIFA 23 with that corner routine. If you know, you know. Second corner for Brazil from the same side, from the left. And it will be swung in. And again, under the keeper's nose, and he takes it well.
It's good keeping. A man we were meant to be linked with over the summer.
The other Milinkovic-Savic, wasn't it?
Vanja Milinkovic-Savic, yeah. He's a very, very big man. I think he's somewhere in the region of 6'8". Is Vanja, and showing the use of having such a tall keeper there coming and claiming from a set piece. I think there's nothing better than that. When you're under a bit of pressure, you're facing a corner. There's the one thing you want is your keeper to come and claim it, because it just takes all of that pressure off.
I saw a stat from Peter Rutz earlier. João Palhinha played 10 minutes today earlier, and he made the joint most tackles in the game in 2. Classic João Palhinha. I was disappointed that he didn't get a big old run out. I was annoyed that I think William Carvalho came on before him as well. And correct me if I'm wrong there, but I would have liked to see a little bit more minutes from João Palhinha.
Yeah, it's tricky. I wasn't surprised that he wasn't involved. Potentially, as Portugal get deeper in this competition, and when you start to hit the actual knockout phases, I think you can't be quite as foolhardy. And I would expect potentially the same from Brazil, that you would maybe have a slightly more defensive-minded midfielder drop in alongside Casemiro, and Portugal would maybe look to do the same, just to protect themselves slightly. You don't want to go out gung-ho in knockout football, because it's just high risk.
Serbia enjoying a bit of possession at the moment. They haven't been absolutely dominated. And to be fair, I wasn't expecting Serbia to be absolutely dominated. They've had a really impressive qualifying campaign. They are really good as a team. They get some good results. They score a lot of goals. And they're making it difficult for Brazil. Brazil haven't got a stranglehold on this game whatsoever. Not at all.
Not at all. They've been very tidy in possession so far in general. There's been some nice moves put together. Brazil initially looking to press high at times, and they've been able to break those lines every now and then. I think there's a lot of optimism from that first 15 minutes.
They have this new stat that in contest is included in the possession stats: 24% in contest, 32% Serbia, 44 for Brazil. So, and in terms of chances, I mean, there's been that one with Neymar off the bar, but they haven't forced the keeper into a save as of yet, really.
Yeah,
And
I wouldn't say they've had a clear cut chance at all. It's been very even. I guess you'd say relatively cagey, which is maybe to be expected. I think most teams' first game of the World Cup, there's always a bit of apprehension.
We've seen that a lot, yeah.
Yeah, but we see it again. Serbia pressing high here again. Mitro charging down the keeper. I think we've got an interesting game on our hands here as Serbia looking to take it to Brazil a little bit.
Here's Neymar. Chance to take on Tadic. Does well, plays it out wide. And there's
another foul from Serbia.
I think breaking up the game is probably part of the game plan, isn't it? Because of Brazil's attacking qualities.
Definitely. I think if in any game where you're the slight underdog, you want to make it as choppy and messy as possible.
Yeah.
You don't want Brazil getting into a rhythm, because with that front four, if they start ticking, then you're going to really, really struggle to keep them quiet. So just keeping them under wraps is important, as that's tight there from Vanja Milinkovic-Savic, but Serbia have got out nicely again, breaking those lines of press.
That is nice. You turn, find a pass here. That'd be nice. And to be fair, I watched Cameroon versus Switzerland earlier. I have to say that I think, we've only played 17 and a half minutes here, but these two do look the strongest, just based on overall quality. I think there is a bit of quality in that Switzerland side. Brennan Bolo, Shaqiri, the likes, but I do like the way that the Serbia team do set up, and obviously they'll adapt their system, their game plan to different opponents. But I just think there's more in this Serbia team than the other two in the group. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, and the key game in this group will ultimately come down to, you imagine, Serbia against Switzerland, especially seeing as Cameroon lost 1-0 to Switzerland today. I think that's the key game in this group. They'll both be expecting to lose to Brazil, and anything else is a bonus. And I think it will ultimately hinge on how they perform against each other as to who is likely to take second in this group.
And those two, of course, played each other last World Cup. With, I think, Mitrovic took the lead, and then they scored last minute with Yerdan Shaqiri, which actually, and then they went on to play Brazil in the third game. They got knocked out, did Serbia. So we shall see if they can get their revenge. Are they playing them in the next match day, or is it the third?
I will have a check. It was an interesting one that the last time that Serbia played Switzerland, because Switzerland have a couple of players who were of Albanian descent, and there was some interesting goings on in their celebrations, which was referencing Albania, and so there was slight fallout from that game. So it'd be interesting to see if similar things happen this time.
I do remember that, yeah. Shaqiri with a last-minute winner when he went through on goal. Here come Brazil, just outside the box. I think that's Paqueta, who's just tried to turn, and it's well defended again from Serbia. They're limiting Brazil to chances, and when it does fall for Brazil, it's usually down the flanks through Vinicius or Rafinha, but not getting much joy through the middle with Richarlison so far.
I think this is a result of packing out that defence and that midfield as well. You've got Gudel, who's just sitting in front of the three centre-backs, sort of patrolling, I think, trying to stop those balls being received in between that midfield line and that defensive line, because that's where players are going to hurt you, especially Neymar. You don't want him.
Almost a mistake at the back there from Serbia, but they cleaned up nicely. Here's Vinicius down the left, cuts inside, plays it back. I think that's Neymar, who's going to go for goal. Great block. And Richarlison goes down in the box in a heap. There's a good contest for the head there, and Serbia clear up to the halfway line. And Brazil just starting to turn the screw a little bit now. Yeah, starting to just dominate the ball and get into some sort of pattern of play. Some sort of rhythm.
You can see Neymar just floating around. He's very keen to get on the ball, trying to affect this game, trying to find pockets of space. Not too dissimilar, really, in the way that you see Messi try and take a control of games. He's trying to be clever with his movement. He wants to be that main creative outlet in this Brazil side. And I mean, he's more than capable.
Yeah, he's getting the ball a little bit more now, and he goes for goal. And it's a good save. Well, straight at the keeper, really. That was Casemiro with the shot. Manchester United player, of course, played against us in that 2-1 defeat that we suffered just before this World Cup got started. Of course, we haven't really done a video since that game. Myself and Joe haven't done one. Quick thoughts on the Man United game?
It was a painful one, wasn't it? It was a really tough one, but ultimately so much to be positive about this season that I don't think, and you would hope that it's not defined by what happened against Manchester United and Manchester City. That they're games that we had earmarked out as losses when the season started, and we probably deserve to give ourselves more credit for keeping it so competitive and so close for both of those games, rather than ultimately focusing on the fact that we gave the points away in the last minute in both of them.
I think the difference between the City game is obviously we're trying to hold on for a point, whereas United, we were sort of in the mindset of we could maybe go on and win this, and maybe that was the downfall for us, that we pushed too hard, and ultimately, we got overrun in midfield for the winning goal. Josh Onoma didn't track, and given he'd just come on the pitch, that infuriated a lot of the Fulham fans. And Garnacho with a really good winner, he'll be an absolute star going forward. But it is what it is. 19 points, you can't really complain. Let's focus back on this game. It's still, we're halfway through the first half. We're not really halfway through the first half, because I'm sure there'll be another 3-4 minutes of added time, but nothing's really given that indication as of yet. But it's been a good watch. It's been intriguing.
It had that. I think intriguing is the word. It's neither team has really managed to put any meaningful passages of play together, I would say, which suits Serbia, because they want to keep this at 0-0 for as long as possible, I think. But Brazil are growing. They're growing into this game. I think they're starting to adapt slightly to how Serbia have set up.
Serbia throwing on the far side. What do you think of the kit? It was just a close up on Tadic there. I quite like it. I think there's been a lot of complaints about the white one. I'm not sure if it's home or away, actually.
There's been theirs is one of the Puma ones, isn't it?
Yes.
Which I think they have been very hit and miss, I would say. There's something quite odd about the sticker that it looks like the numbers are placed in the middle of on the front of the shirts.
Yeah.
As that's some good defending from Pavlovic there to keep Rafinha quiet. He's just managed to shepherd him out of play. But again, Rafinha and Vinicius not really yet to get into this game.
No, it's been pretty good stuff from Serbia defensively wise, and Petkovic obviously already on a yellow card as well. He did well there to shepherd that ball out. They're playing out from the back here, Serbia. They're inviting the press from Serbia. They go from Brazil. They go long, and well, I mean, it's all a bit of a tangle right now. They retain possession just about and then give it away again. But I've enjoyed this, because I think despite Serbia setting up quite defensively, they still have that threat going forward. And I feel like if they do overturn the ball in transition, they do have the players who can hurt Brazil and get at them. And I think that's really, really interesting. Albeit Brazil are dominating the ball right now, if there was a situation where a mistake was made in midfield, you do feel like there's a threat from Serbia.
Yeah, this is where it surprised me slightly that they've just gone with Casemiro effectively as the one sitting midfielder. Just as we speak about Serbia nick it in the middle of the park.
There we go. They overturn it. Goes to the right-hand side. There's an opportunity. The ball comes into the box. I can hear the shouts from downstairs as Mitrovic goes for the ball, and Alisson claims, I think you might be about a half second ahead of me. But I think that's just down to my aerial signal. But it was
a slightly poor ball in the end. I think Mitrovic had taken up a good position at the back post there, and there was that's the sort of thing that Serbia are going to need to capitalize on, because as it is quite apt that it happened just as we were speaking about it. But with just Casemiro as the holding midfielder, he's got a lot of work on his hands if they ever do lose the ball in those central areas of the pitch, and that's where Serbia are going to look to hurt them, and that was a warning sign. I think that will just get Brazil thinking slightly.
This Brazil team has changed quite a lot since 2018. I think Roberto Firmino was one of their main stars in Russia. I know obviously Neymar is a mainstay. Thiago Silva's been there for quite a while. They had likes of David Luiz and Julio Cesar as well back in the well, that was back in Brazil actually when they lost in the semi-final, of course, when they hosted the tournament. But the amount of talent they've got, Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo, to name a few. I mean, the attacking talent is something where if you were playing this on FIFA, you'd be playing a 4-2-4 and trying to pack as many as attacking players as you can. And even ironically, with a 4-2-4, you're still playing with two midfielders who are basically going to be holding. But Brazil have gone with the one holding in Casemiro, and then there's sort of two floaters in Neymar and Paqueta in the front three. So it's terribly exciting, and I do think on paper they've got the strongest squad in the whole World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about depth, and you can go right the way through pretty much every position in this team. If you're talking about having, as expected, you have Edison as your backup goalkeeper,
it's mental, isn't it?
Gabriel Jesus as your backup striker. That's a fantastic ball, and that's again some very, very good keeping from Vanja Milinkovic-Savic. Quick off his line, got to the feet of Vinicius, and that's a very good bit of goalkeeping. He's looked impressive so far.
Just raising the tempo are Brazil. The referee stopped it here for something.
I think that's where Andrija Zivkovic has got to be careful. As the right wing back, he switches off there.
Yeah,
it's a great run from Vinicius. It's a lovely ball from Thiago Silva.
It's well read for the keeper, though.
It's very well read.
Yeah, Vinicius, doesn't really get a touch on the ball. It's Milinkovic-Savic comes out and parries it. But there is a free kick here to Brazil on the left-hand side. The chance to swing it in. Of course, they've had those two corners on that side, and one of them, of course, came off the bar, the first one. And Neymar's over it, and there are some big hitters in the box for not only Brazil but for Serbia as well, who can clear. I wonder if Mitrovic is in the mixer as well, trying to contribute towards heading that ball away.
Yeah, there he is. He's the first man in that line of defence behind the wall. It's a position he loves to take up for Fulham. He's so good at. He's so good in both boxes. It's because of that aerial threat. He's such a key defender for Fulham from set pieces. As Brazil goes short.
Into the box, it's gone all the way through, and that will be a throw into Serbia on the near side.
I think that was Rafinha there. He's just spooned that cross pretty horribly. It was a dangerous position they got into there, and Serbia slightly lucky that Rafinha didn't have the quality to put in a good ball there.
I'm watching this game in my room, and I'm looking around the room, and it's almost like a shrine to Mitrovic, this room. I've got one thing up here, one thing down there, one up there, one there. It's quite remarkable how much this man has had an influence on and the football club.
I've got this on today, JK.
Oh, brilliant.
The Fulhamish merch.
Fulhamish merch, fantastic. But Serbia are sort of weathering a bit of a storm right now. I feel like we probably could have seen this coming. They start aggressively, they start well, they get a couple of attacks. But now you do see that they're taking this game by the scruff of the neck of Brazil and trying to force the issue. But I think Serbia are more than happy to sort of sit in their shape and defend.
Yeah, and I can see that Milinkovic-Savic is sort of acting as a screen almost in that first line of defence. He's trying to stop the ball getting to Casemiro. He's trying to stop Paqueta getting on the ball, and it's just forcing Serbia to go. It's forcing Brazil to go out wide a little bit more often. They've not been able to build through the middle very much because that supply is just cut off as we're sort of half an hour into the game now.
There's a long ball. It's headed back into the box and headed away for a corner. Good defending that because you don't really want to head it back towards the danger. Get it out for a corner and regroup. It's a nice switch there. Rafinha with the headed cross, and then it's well headed away by number 5, which is I'm not the best on the individuals in this team. It's Vejkovic with the header, I think, away. Was that number 5 or number 4? It was number 5, I think. Vejkovic is number 4. Yeah. Corner to Brazil this time on the right-hand side. the near side as we're watching, and it goes, it's right to the front post, and I think that might be a goal kick. Here's another corner.
For the second time, the Rafinha just getting a cross wrong there, this time taking the set piece.
Yeah. I think he's just trying to whip that into the near post, but it's too low. No one can really. They go short this time. Oh, that's a nice flick. Rafinha with the ball into the box. Oh, and the keeper just gets there ahead of Thiago Silva.
I think this is interesting to see, and I think this makes Brazil even more of a threat. That they clearly have put some work into set pieces. That's the second time I think they've put together a quick short set piece routine.
Yeah,
a little 1-2.
It'll catch them out, won't it? That's how they could catch Serbia out.
Yeah, as we've seen with Fulham, set pieces are so important, and if Brazil have added that to their armory as well, they're going to be a very, very difficult team to play against in this tournament.
Oh, Vinicius. Oh, I think the play's been stopped here. It might be an offside, but I think Serbia wanted a free kick down the other end, and no, it's a throw-in. It's a throw-in to Brazil. When you're watching it with no volume, you sort of need to take a few seconds to ascertain what's going on. But Mitrovic has his hands in the air. He wants something. I don't know what's going on. It's a free kick. It's Brazil.
We
played just over half an hour.
Comment from Brian saying he's loving the commentary. Thank you very much for tuning in, Brian. It's a pleasure to have you.
Commentary is always something I was into from a young age, and in the space I'm in right now, maybe it's something I can explore. Did a commentary course at university with the brilliant Gary Taphouse from Sky and the World Feed. So it's always something that I've sort of thought about doing, and it's up my sleeve. But stuff like this might help. You never know. Doesn't help that I need to do a bit more research on the teams that we're watching, but that's a good tackle. That
it's combative, it's strong from Serbia. It's what we expected from them, but I think they've done it very, very well. And to say that Brazil still 33 minutes into this game haven't really had a clear-cut chance or a dangerous shot on goal, is a big credit to this Serbia side.
I think it's almost a perfect first game for Serbia because it gives them a benchmark of the sort of performance they need to put in if they want to progress in this tournament, defensively wise, especially. Comes the ball into the box. We'll head it away.
I think also if you look at the games that have led up to this one, there's a lot for Serbia to be optimistic about because we have seen teams earmarked out as favourites for this competition. Not winning games, and I think that gives you as an underdog. I think that gives you a little bit of optimism and something to fight for.
So who also gives optimism to that is England. Of course, he played tomorrow. Obviously, we won 6-2 in the opening game. There's a ball into the box. Nice defended again. Can Mitrovic get his foot on the ball? He can. He flicks it up, and an awful lot he could have done in that situation because obviously there's so many men behind the ball for Serbia. It's hard to transition defense into attack when you've just got that one man up front.
He has started to fade out of the game slightly, Mitrovic. Yeah. I've not been able to find him quite as well or even get the first 15 minutes.
But I'm enjoying it. It's a good game. It's a fascinating game, really, actually. Here's Rafinha. He's got an overlap. He's going to cut inside. Lays it off. Oh, they've opened them up here. And the shot is poor. Rafinha straight at the keeper. Wow, he should have scored.
Big chance. That's a big, big chance. And there's a lovely move. That's the first time they've put together that sort of quick set of passes in that final third. And it's a poor finish in the end from Rafinha. You'd expect him to do a lot better there.
Could have done about that. Nothing they could have done about that. Fantastic play.
It's a very good bit of movement as well from Rafinha, just to drift in off that flank to find that space between the lines.
The thing is that the thing about this Brazil team is they're all quite flexible in the attacking positions. You can have Rafinha drift in as a sort of essential attacking midfield. You can have Neymar drift out wide because they can play in these positions. Richarlison can play out wide. Richarlison can play down the middle. Vinicius can play as a striker. I mean, they can just sort of drift in and out as they please, really.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes them so dangerous as well, is because as a defender, you can't solely focus on who you think your man is, because with that fluidity in the front line, you've got to be constantly checking your shoulder, because ultimately if you see Neymar drifting out wide towards you, it probably means that Rafinha's drifted inside, and then you've got a decision to make in terms of who you track.
It's so difficult. It's what you see from the real quality teams, not only in the World Cup, but in the Premier League and stuff like that. Manchester City do it very, very well. Neymar's got a bit of space now. Well defended. That's brilliant, brilliant play to stop that ball from going through, and it just drifts through to the keeper, Milinkovic-Savic. And
I think it's been a very admirable performance from Andrija Zivkovic on that right flank. Again, not necessarily his natural position, but he's kept Vinicius relatively quiet as Mitrovic wins a good knockdown, and Serbia just in transition here as it goes out to Zivkovic.
Yeah. Can they make something of this?
Lovely 1-2 as the ball comes in and it drifts over Mitrovic towards the back post, and I think that's going to be a goal kick to Brazil. It is.
Frustrating that. But that is what they can do.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That way of in transition, I think you're spot on, JK.
Mitrovic is planted in the middle of the box there, and it went just over him, and suddenly the aerial threat is sort of reduced in that aspect. It's dropped here for Serbia outside the box into the final third.
Another
chance. Can they make something happen?
Mitrovic just positioning himself again on Danilo, hoping that the ball gets shifted out wide.
It's a nice little spell of possession for Serbia. They haven't had the ball in quite a while, and can they be patient with it and work a chance? Mitrovic obviously sat well offside at the moment, but just obviously needs to wait for that defence to shuffle up a little bit, of which they have already. And this is nice. Down the left-hand side. Can they make anything of it? I think that's going to be a throw into Brazil. Well, maybe it's not. Well, Neymar looks...
It doesn't look very happy, but I think that means it's been given to Serbia.
I thought that was going to be a throw to Brazil, to be fair, but... Do you think they'll make use of the long throw, maybe? No, they've gone back. We haven't really seen a long throw in this tournament yet.
No, I mean, a big fan of them. They cause a lot of chaos, but it's a very specific skill set. It's interesting. I don't know what you think, JK, but it was a nice spell of possession there from Serbia, but it was almost as if Brazil were happy for them to have that possession because they're not. I don't think they're entirely convinced that Serbia are going to be able to pick their way through. And so if they can prevent the transition and slow them down, I think that's sort of playing into Brazil's hands slightly.
It's always going to be a tactic of trying to force the ball wide at least and get beyond the man and put the ball into the box, because Mitrovic, obviously, we know is not blessed with great pace. He can't make a run in behind or anything. You might have to rely on sort of Tadic for making those sort of runs and getting in behind. But Brazil, I think we're fine with Serbia having the ball in that. And little 1-2 there. Well done. Well defended. I think we're both supporting Serbia here tonight, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
we love an underdog.
We do, and nothing would make either of us happier than seeing Mitrovic scoring important goals at the World Cup. I think that's what every Fulham fan wants to see, apart from maybe the Brazilian ones.
The way this game has gone so far, and trends we've seen already from the World Cup, you do just feel at some point it's gonna get Brazil are gonna get it right, and they're probably gonna break this team down and score. But perhaps in the second half. But then again, you never know. They've defended really well, Serbia. I've been really impressed.
They have, and I think that Brazil ultimately haven't been as adventurous as I would have expected them to be. They've been relatively conservative as they, another relatively poor ball goes into the box. But you can see Danilo and Alexandro as their two fullbacks. They've not got particularly high up the pitch, which I think is an understanding that they don't want Serbia to be able to get the ball into wide areas in behind them because of that central threat of Mitrovic and Milinkovic-Savic. But I think it just means that they're playing it a bit safe, and might be why they're struggling to create much, because they could do with a couple more bodies in those attacking phases, I think.
Alexandro's offered an overlap a couple of times, and I don't think he's been used on either occasion. And Serbia, again, have just got the ball. They've just sort of weathered a storm, I feel. And we're heading to five minutes left of this first half, plus any additional time to be added on. And just felt in the middle of that half, we did see a little bit more from Brazil, and Serbia have dealt with it very, very well.
They have, and it's smart.
Just to pass it around.
I think it's smart if they can take this to half time, which I think will be their plan. Then that's a really successful first half of football. If you can take it to 0-0 at half time, it means Brazil have to rethink their strategy. They have to maybe become a bit more adventurous, and that only offers up more opportunities for Serbia going forward.
There was a chance there for Serbia, and they just weren't strong enough there as they entered the final third and
He's
didn't
given
force
it
the ball
away.
wide. Oh no, chance here.
He's recovered. He's recovered well there after a mistake. Milenkovic, the Fiorentina centre back, it's a poor clearance, and Vinicius does well to hunt him down, but he recovers really well to get back.
He's just trying to hook it over the Vinicius, and he's just sort of oh no, it's come off his own head, come off his own head, and then Vinicius is in and takes a touch. Oh, that's brilliant defending. That's brilliant defending. That's quite unlucky.
I'm impressed at his ability to get back there, because he was a yard or two behind Vinicius as he broke into the box there, and he's done well to come and cut that off.
I think Vinicius just sort of took his time on that. Oh, brilliant takedown.
When comes the ball. Oh, that was a
just over the head of Mitrovic.
Great ball in that from Mladenovic from the left flank, and it just had a little bit too much on it for Mitro. But
this is the thing, like these sort of situations can sort of come out of nothing. A long ball up, win the first header, force it wide, and just get the ball in the box, and that's what Serbia can bring to the party. They just get that bit of space on the wide area in the wide areas. All they've got to do is swing in a ball towards Mitrovic, and he'll contest for it. And that's why Brazil got to be wary.
Definitely, and I think that interesting to me, and it was a slight surprise, but that they've still got a couple of players on the bench who I think can affect this game as well. Serbia, particularly Filip Kostic, who I think likely has missed out potentially due to the fact that they wanted a little bit more of defensive solidity on that left flank. But if this game does start to get stretched, he's a very good player, and he's got a good delivery into the box, and I'm sure Mitrovic would like to see him on the pitch at some point in this game.
It is still 0-0 here. Still 0-0.
Brazil give the ball away again in the middle of the park. They've been a little bit careless at times.
And again, that ball goes up, and suddenly if Richarlison wins that header, then Vinicius Junior has got a chance to run at them, and the game could sort of change in one moment of brilliance, really, which is what makes this game so intriguing, because his Rafinha takes on his man, he actually really well, gets to the byline. I think that ball went out of play before.
I think it did.
Yeah, again, Petkovic, I've been impressed with him. Pavlovic, been really impressed with him since going yellow card as well.
Yeah, I think he's handled Rafinha quite well so far. But I think Brazil will be slightly disappointed. I think Tite will be disappointed with what Rafinha's offered in this game. I would have expected more from him, and particularly when you consider the options that they have to come off the bench. When you're looking at wide players, Martinelli, Rodrigo, Anthony, Ribeiro, there are people who are in line waiting to take up that position on that right flank. And Rafinha's had a poor game so far, I think, and he's been locked down well by that left-hand side of Mladenovic and Pavlovic.
You think that Brazil might make any changes at half-time just to sort of add a bit of impetus? Or do you think they'll just sort of keep it the same?
I think they would probably keep it the same, at least for the first 10 or 15 minutes of the second half, but maybe just tweak things, because I don't think this has worked so far.
Chance for Serbia in a wide position. Can they get the ball in? They've just worked it around. Ball's gone through to Alisson.
There's a lot of, I don't know what you think, Jack, but I think there's a lot to be optimistic about from Serbia here, because they've got into dangerous situations where it's their final ball that's let them down, but they've been getting into those areas of the pitch, which I think is important.
I honestly think the final ball for Brazil as well has sort of let them down on many occasions. There's definitely something in this for Serbia. The longer it stays 0-0, the longer, the more confidence will build for Serbia, and maybe, like you say, like just get that one chance, put a ball in the box. Obviously, their opening goal of the World Cup in 2018 came from a free kick.
Oh, I think you've cut out, JK. As Jack unplugs his headphones in excitement at at this first half, where we've only got 1 minute of added time, which is quite unusual for for this World Cup. But I think it shows what we've had in this first half, which is a cagey game. We've not really had any lengthy stoppages, and Serbia will be really happy with this. They've got 20 seconds to see out here, but otherwise that's a really, really successful first half for them. They've kept Brazil quiet. They've conceded one key, one clear-cut opportunity, which thankfully for them, Rafinha got wrong. And otherwise, it's been relatively even. They've not been overly defensive, and they've got into positions that could potentially trouble Brazil as the referee blows for half time, and that's a very successful half for Serbia and slightly disappointing for Brazil, I think, JK.
Yeah, sorry about that. My mic went. I'm not sure how long I was gone for, but it's half time. It's 0-0. That's exactly what Serbia would have wanted. They haven't really, apart from that big chance for Rafinha, that is pretty much it from Brazil.
Yeah,
they haven't been at their glamorous best.
No, they haven't at all, and there's going to be some tactical tweaks, I would imagine, at half time, because if they want to break down this Serbia side, I think they're going to have to be a little bit more creative and try and be a bit more inventive in possession, because it's been relatively comfortable for all but that one moment in that half that they've defended strongly and they've not had to do much. Yeah, as Matt says, Brazil have been a bit uninspiring.
Yeah, I think they've struggled. Oh, there's Alisson, who I noticed against Southampton, he shaved his beard off, and now he's growing a nice tash, which looks great as he trudges off into the tunnel. All matches today ended 0-0 at half time. That is true.
It's been a world it's been a World Cup of 0-0s as well, hasn't it, Jack? Because I think we had 3 or 4 in a row at one point, but in a way that they've not been dull. There's not been a huge amount of action in this game, but by virtue of the fact that this is a real underdog story, you've got one of the favourites coming up against a team with relatively low expectations. It makes it really, really interesting that we're sat at 0-0 with 45 to go.
It's been a good watch. I think a lot of 0-0s you get teams who are afraid to attack because they don't want to lose, and I think we've seen both teams give a little. Well, obviously Brazil more than Serbia, but they've given some attacking intent. I think Serbia have played this very, very well, especially with the system they're playing, and they got some joy early on, but as the half's gone on, the quality has shown from Brazil, but it's just not the final end product. Not the final end product.
Spot on. I guess in over half time, it'd be quite good, maybe, Jack, to get your thoughts on what we've got coming up this weekend, because there's some good games. We've obviously got the England game tomorrow evening.
Yep.
But you also look at this weekend and you've got France against Denmark, which
huge
France,
game.
France obviously very, very impressive in their first game, scoring 4. Denmark a bit slow, but you'll imagine the streets of Paris, Copenhagen and beyond will be packed out for that one, because I think it'd be a very, very good game of football against 2 very strong sides.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at the fixtures now. Obviously, Tunisia, Australia is a big game as well.
We can round off the weekend as well with Spain, Germany on the Sunday, which is also especially with the result we saw yesterday between Germany and Japan. It's a huge game for Germany. They lose that, and that's them out. Which there's not going to be many happy people in Germany with that, because they would have had higher expectations from that, and all that pressure on the game against Spain, who was so impressive against Costa Rica.
Fulham from Spain. And then, of course, on the Monday morning, 10 a.m., we're back with this group, Cameroon versus Serbia. Massive game.
Yeah.
But no, it's a great weekend. And I think Argentina-Mexico is another massive game. Obviously, Argentina losing to Saudi Arabia. Poland playing at 1 p.m. as well against Saudi Arabia. Saturday looking very... I think the way in which the groups have gone so far, the second games, I think nearly all of the second games are very, very intriguing.
Yeah. Definitely, and as a result, in most of them, due to what happened in the first game, which is what you want to see. This is why there's so much pressure in a group that's only 3 games long, because you lose your first game and suddenly you're in a position where you've got to win both your next ones. And if in Germany's case, for example, the first one you lose is not the hardest game in your group, you've got a lot of work to do.
It's going to be fascinating to see what happens over
We've
the
got
next few days.
Matt here asking about our pre-match predictions. I did go for somewhere in the region of 2 or 3-0 for Brazil. So, but with the caveat that, you know, given what we've seen so far this tournament, then they're not nailed on for this. And off that first half showing, they've got a lot of improvement to do if I'm going to be right with my prediction. How about you, JK?
I don't actually remember making a score prediction, but I think based on what I've seen, I do think that Brazil will just sneak past 1-0. It might be a penalty, it might be a free kick, a moment of brilliance, but I really don't want this to happen because I've been so impressed with Serbia, but there could be a moment where they do switch off. We've seen it a couple of times where those balls been played through to Vinicius and Rafinha. And but that sort of speaks to the fact that we're not seeing anything from Serbia going forward. We are seeing something from Serbia going forward, but I just feel like the ball to Mitrovic in the box hasn't quite been on the money. Keeper's obviously got a massive presence in the box, and Alisson, very, very good keeper, of course. And you just do wonder, like I said, if this game keeps going 0-0, you just you never know.
I think that there will be a chance in this for Serbia. That they've gotten into enough positions, I think, in that first half to know that if they can get that ball into the box right, they've got the perfect man and, well, the perfect men really with Mitro and Milinkovic-Savic to get on the end of those crosses. It's just in the same way as Brazil, that final ball that's been slightly lacking, but a lot of positives to take out of that first half.
Yeah, definitely. Who's been the standout team for you then so far? I mean, France and England have had the most impressive results. Portugal obviously scored 3 today, but had to break through with a penalty, so they were finding it difficult to break down Ghana. Who would you say has been the most impressive so far?
It's tricky because you can only go off, or you can only judge things based off one game, and there's obviously mitigating circumstances based on the team you've played. But it's hard to look past Spain, isn't it? You score
Spain, of course, yes.
You score 7 in a World Cup group stage match, and I think they're a really exciting team. You know, the youth in there and the ability and the talent is incredible. They play sublime football. Whether I think they are ready to win this World Cup, I think I probably would say no. But if you give them 2 years for the next Euros and then 4 years from now for the next World Cup, I think they're going to be a really, really strong team. If you put 2 more years experience into Pedri, into Gavi, into Balde in the left back position, and if they can just find themselves a natural goal scorer, which I think is what they're slightly missing, which is funny to say after they score 7, but I think if you were able to drop a Fernando Torres into a team like that, they'd be a real dangerous side.
We're just seeing the highlights now of Portugal versus Ghana, and I wasn't watching this with my full amount of attention, but am I under the impression that Ronaldo penalty was given with no VAR check?
I was at work, so I couldn't watch, right. But I imagine there will have been, but it was soft. It definitely was soft, and yeah, this is it's been a weird one, I would say, this World Cup for penalties we've seen given, penalties we've not seen overturned. I think it hasn't. The refereeing hasn't quite covered itself in glory so far, and neither is VAR. But yeah, that moment at the end for Inaki Williams was heartbreaking for him.
If he doesn't slip there, I think he might score. We saw it with Stevenage the other day in League Two, how they won their game on, I think, previous Saturday. He sort of hid behind the keeper and scored, but that would have been extraordinary. Portugal topped the group, Group H. Korea and Uruguay, of course, drew earlier. Ghana on 0 points. It's good to be top of the table, England, and with a nice healthy bit of goal difference as well.
Yeah, I think it takes the pressure off slightly, and especially going into obviously going into tomorrow's game, England are carrying far more momentum than the USA are carrying. But I think they'll be disappointed after I know we've got some from US fans watching along, but after what was such a strong first 45, they just slowly tailed off through that second half, and Wales were entirely deserving in the end of getting a point, but probably the States could have been more than a goal up in that first half, and I think they'll be disappointed, and they'll know that if they were trying to get out of this group, they really could have probably done with winning that first game.
Yeah, I think they sort of let the game get away from them, and the momentum that Wales were bringing in that second half. The penalty was silly. It wasn't Ream. It was Zimmerman who lunged in, and Bale obviously stuck the penalty away. And from there, like, the game was nearly over, and there wasn't much time to influence to get a winner. But who I've been impressed with. Obviously, last night Canada were fantastic. They probably should have got a better result than they did. They deserved a better result, but I think there's more from USA that they can give in this tournament. But obviously, I don't want. Oh, I think my Wi-Fi might have just dropped there. Apologies for that. I just don't think that,
we've still got your sound coming through.
Oh, right. Okay. I don't think that. I don't want USA to obviously turn up tomorrow. I want us to win, obviously, but I think there is more to give in this USA team.
No, I agree, and I, as you said as well, Canada were impressive yesterday evening, but USA have got more than enough about them. I think they are, the progression we've seen in that national team, and I think it's been a conscious effort, right, getting their national players out into the European leagues, playing top 5 league football has been a huge factor in this. But interesting to see that. I'd be interested to know, Rick, as he says, the USA doesn't inspire confidence, if that's as a result of what happened after the Wales game, or if that's a general feeling that was coming into this tournament in general from US men's national team fans, because I think there's enough to be optimistic about, and probably are 2 or 3 key players away from being a bigger hitter, but there are enough good players within that side, I would say.
The second half's going to start in about 3 minutes. What I might do is I might just grab another drink, and I don't know if you want to pause the stream for a second, or if you want to stay on and just have a little chat with the chat. But I'll be literally 2 minutes.
Cool. We'll put a little pause on the stream, guys. So thank you very much for joining us for the first half, and we will see you in a couple of minutes.
Yep.
Hello and welcome back, everybody. Jack, let us know what was the drink you went over to get yourself.
I went for a Corona this time. Had a Cobra in the first half, and went for a Corona this time with a bit of lime, which is beautiful. Are you drinking anything?
Oh, living life. I'm on the waters tonight, unfortunately. Interesting to see as we see Neymar walking out after half time. It doesn't seem as though there are going to be any changes. I can't see anyone waiting to come on, which I don't think is ultimately surprising. Serbia obviously wouldn't want to change anything at the moment, but give it 10 or 15 minutes, and I think if the game's follows the same pattern, then I think we'll start to see Brazil make a couple of changes to try and shake this game up a little bit as we kick off for the second half. And this is quite a big 45 minutes for both teams now after that first half.
Neymar's still doing up his laces, I think.
The good that Serbia would do themselves by coming out of this with a point would be huge. I think that would vastly increase their chances of getting out of this group. And ultimately, I think Brazil will be fine whatever happens in this game, but you never want to start with a poor result.
Switzerland top the group on 3, Cameroon at the bottom on 0. As it stands, Brazil. Oh gosh, careful!
That's a huge chance for Rafinha again, and he's
what a
missed
save
it again.
Well, that's the first time we've really seen them playing out for the back and them getting in a bit of a tangle. Obviously, look at it, there was that chance at the end of the first half where the defender accidentally got the ball off his own head or heel or something, and they got in behind. But what a chance that is! Less than a minute into the second half, Brazil should be in front.
It's poor again from Rafinha. I mean, they do well to win it back, but it's a poor effort. Vanya Milinkovic-Savic again out quickly, which was the key there to close down those angles. But you'd expect a lot more from Rafinha there once again.
A tough frame to sort of get the ball pass as well, given he's 6'7", 6'8".
Yeah, well, that's
a warning sign. A warning sign for Serbia.
Definitely, I think that's a huge moment there. There wouldn't have been you couldn't have had possibly a worse start to the second half than conceding in the first minute. I think that would have really knocked the wind out of them. So they've got away with one there.
Brazil.
I wonder. Okay, do you think
almost going ahead there?
Do you think we'll see Mitrovic play a full 90? Obviously, they've got Dusan Vlahovic on the bench, who is a very, very accomplished striker now at Juventus, and I think it's a massive credit to Mitrovic, because whilst Juve haven't had a great season so far, he's been scoring goals at an acceptable rate, and the fact that they still prefer our man Mitra up top says a lot about the quality of striker that he is.
Well, I always pay attention to every game Serbia plays, because obviously it has a massive effect on Fulham, given Mitrovic's minutes and stuff. But every time I tend to check up on them, Mitrovic usually plays a full 90.
Yeah.
Unless they play maybe 3 games in the space of a few days. And of course, they are doing that in this tournament. So maybe we might see him get 90 in this game. And then by the second and third game, we might see him get 70, 80 minutes here and there. But he definitely is the main starter. He's the main man for Serbia. As Brazil come forward here, it's well defended again.
And some fantastic hold-up play from Alexander Mitrovic. That is exceptional.
Oh, that's brilliant. Look at that. Brilliant.
To flick it over the head of, I think it was Casemiro, and to come away and get it out wide. That's fantastic from him. But Serbia give it away, and now they're in trouble as Brazil start to break. It's a 3-on-3 here, and that is a very, very poor challenge from Goodell. He does have to do it. He sides Neymar down on the edge of the area. It's a dangerous place for a free kick, but probably the right decision given the situation that was developing there.
Yeah, that's cynical. If you look up cynical in the footballing dictionary, that tackle is it. Neymar. Here's the chance again that we haven't seen yet. Yeah, to be fair, I mean, the keeper's in a bit of an advantage because when he plays that ball out, he's still quite far out of his box, so he can close down that space quite quickly. But it's poor from Rafinha. It doesn't have much time to think about it. But he hits it basically straight at the keeper. It's
a poor finish, but Vanya Milinkovic-Savic as well. I think he stays up as long as possible. He doesn't commit either way. But really, all he needs to do there is get a little bit of elevation, and that's a goal. But as our friend Big Nose Monkey says, Serbian keeper looks quite good. Yeah, I think Vanya's been very impressive in between the sticks.
Benno's in trouble if we're still looking at this man.
But this is a huge opportunity for Brazil now on the edge of the area. Neymar standing over it, he will imagine will take this, and more work potentially on the hands of Milinkovic-Savic here.
Yeah, this is you get it up and over. I think it's one of those ones you have to get it up and over the wall. Neymar doesn't really look like he's going to be going for power here, unless Rafinha.
Wouldn't be surprised if he went the goalkeeper's side here. I think the way they've set up.
Leaving a lot of space down the other side is the goalkeeper. And I'm nervous for this. This is the first time. Neymar.
And guess who gets his head on it in that wall? That looked like it was Alexander Mitrovic. Oh no, I think it ended up being Milenkovic there, but good from the wall. It's quite a big wall that they had there. It would have been a big ask for Neymar to get it up and over.
Just seems like Brazil are ramping up the pressure at the beginning of the second half. Neymar's corner from the left. In it goes. Well defended again. Falls for Richarlison. Brilliant block. Brilliant block. And did that go out? That must have gone out. Ref. Someone's down for Serbia into the box. It's all a bit... Oh, Milinkovic-Savic is down.
They've definitely upped the intensity here, Brazil. Yeah. I think they've come out with a little bit more purpose in this half. And they're going to have to be careful here, Serbia. But again, they're standing pretty strong. They defended that set piece pretty well. It was a bit scrappy, but they got it away.
Yeah. So I just thought Milinkovic-Savic just handled that. It came off his chest, and maybe it came off his neck because that's why he was down and now he's holding his neck. You have to give it to Serbia. This has been a very impressive defensive performance thus far, with only 51 minutes in.
Now there's a long way to go, but they just need to keep trying and doing the same things. Try not to tire, because I think it's difficult not to get leggy when you're chasing ball for so long. But so far, 50 minutes in, they've ridden their luck, which you need to do in those games, as have the other teams who have got surprise results in this game. They've ridden their luck at times.
So this is what we see from Brazil. They try and win fouls. They've got a lot of flair players who are susceptible to dive and try and win by the referee and give free kicks and stuff you don't want to really see. And we could see that from the likes of Neymar going forward. Really, here's the chance. Brazil into the box.
Fantastic!
What a
bit
tackle
of defending.
that is!
That's incredible from Pavlovic. He has been superb in that left centre back role. Another brilliant challenge, and Rafinha's been having a slight torrid time against him. He's given him no time on the ball. He's heavy in the challenge, and that was a brilliant bit of defending again.
Paqueta's gone down here holding his lower back. Where's his backside? His arm flings out there at Sergio Milinkovic-Savic. That's a great little turn from him. I'm not really sure what's going on there. It's all a bit clunky.
I think Serbia will have to be careful, particularly from set pieces, because as we've seen in this tournament, they've really cracked down on holding. And you can imagine as this game starts to get deeper, Brazil will be looking to get an advantage anyway if they can. And if that's being smart in the box, they're going to take those opportunities.
Here goes Thiago Silva. He's just kept that in play. Vinicius Junior He's going to get a chance to put the ball in the box. He's cut in. Ball comes into the box. Oh, brilliant defending.
It's Pavlovic again at the back post, nodding away.
Fantastic from the red shirts.
He is having a very, very good game, is Strahinja Pavlovic. It's been impressive.
Danilo has it on this near side. Brazil just sort of trying to work Serbia. They've gone into wide areas early in the second half. Serbia standing off them and sort of letting Brazil have the ball and trying to hold their shape. It really is going to be a case of a moment of quality, I think, from Brazil.
Yeah, but as they start to drag out further and further, they've been a much more intense in this half so far. 10 minutes in, they've been more purposeful on the ball, and Serbia are sort of just weathering a storm slightly here. But it does present opportunities. If they can get it right when they win the ball back, there will be chances to be had, because they're starting to commit men further and further forward, Brazil.
Well, nice bit of passage of play. Well, but Serbia haven't had a chance. I don't think they've had the ball inside Brazil's half in this second half so far. There's Vinicius Junior gets the ball on the left hand side. The shot is wide. Neymar it was on the turn.
It's the first real chance that's fallen to Neymar in this game, and he's just spooned it slightly, leaning back, trying to work it with his left foot, and he's just come off the end of his foot there, and it goes wide. But
the amount of players they're committing to the box is scary.
They've created more in the first 10 minutes of this half than they did in the first half.
Very much so.
The
thing is that Brazil, Serbia can't really run down the clock, because whatever happens, it's going to be added on anyway. So that sort of aspect of the game is sort of gone in this World Cup.
Yeah, I think their best bet here is just to try and put the foot on the ball slightly, just slow things down, because at the moment Brazil are having so much of the ball that it's becoming slightly relentless, and it's poor there, I think, from Serbia, from Mladenovic giving the ball away, because it just gives Brazil another chance to put their foot on it and really start to create things again.
Brazil with the ball yet again, and I think Serbia just have to hold out as long as possible. Is there a foul there? Oh, it's a foul. Neymar.
I think he's unlucky there. I think Sasha Lukic is unlucky. I think that's a good bit of pressing. And again, that's where they need to win the ball back. As Serbia actually make the first change here with Nemanja Gudel coming off and Zivkovic. Unsurprising, Gudel, I guess, as he's acting as that screen in front of the defence, and on a yellow card, you're always running a risk.
Oh, is he on a yellow?
Yeah, and Zivkovic coming off, which I think might be a sign that they're getting a little bit of trouble down his right flank and Brazil's left, and looking just to try and shore things up a little bit more with Radonjic coming on.
Radonjic, who plays his football at Torino.
I think that's an admirable performance from Andrea Zivkovic as a natural winger to be tasked with trying to keep Vinicius Jr. quiet. He's done relatively well, and he didn't keep him out of the game entirely, but he didn't have the freedom of the park. So he's done pretty well there.
Other man coming on was Ilic, who plays for Hellas Verona, supporter of Umberto, supports him, who is downstairs at the moment watching it with my brother. Here's a chance for Serbia. Ball into the box. It's going to be a corner. Come on. It's going to be a corner. Headed away by...
Once again, the link-up play from Alexander Mitrovic is brilliant. The physical battle that he wins to create that opportunity out wide. And it's not a bad ball from Dusan Tadic, but it's good defending from Alexandro. But this is what they've got to make use of, haven't they? This is what they've been waiting for all game, pretty much. And you've got, I imagine, Tadic standing over this. Yeah, just needs to find a good ball in. They've got targets in this box. They've got a lot of aerial threat, and this is where they're going to have to try and create their chances from.
Mitrovic with a couple of headed goals already this season for Fulham. Tadic with the ball in. Headed away at the front post. It's still alive for Serbia. Headed away. Can they have a second phase from this? It's going to be a throw-in. Maybe a bit of momentum building for Serbia.
This is good. This is a really good reaction to the first 10 minutes of this half. Just taking the game up the other end of the pitch. And all thanks to Mitro. That was his brilliant bit of hold-up play that created that. As they get another chance to put the ball in from out wide.
Go on.
Not going to... Goes out for a goal kick. That's more like it from Serbia. I think that was a good passage. It wasn't a bad set piece in the end, but it's just gone over the head of Milinkovic Savic, and it's good defending from I think Danilo there.
Yeah,
this is a great point from Rick. You can see how much, just based off the little snippets we've seen in this game, you can see what we've been missing in the past. Well, the last 2 weeks of the Premier League season is
just not quite living up to the Mitro hype, is he?
Well, Alexander Mitrovic is a sort of he's a bit of a unicorn of a player. You really struggle to find centre forwards like him in big leagues nowadays who are so good at that, such a defined role. Oh, that's an incredible effort that's come off the inside of the post. What a hit that was. What a hit.
Out of nothing. And that's the bit of quality we're talking about.
Milinkovic Savic had no hope there. He was just hoping that would hit the inside of the post. There's Alexandro, I think,
goes wide from Vinny. Yeah.
Let's
have a look at that again. Sandro just out of nowhere. It's swinging. And to be fair, the keeper's beaten because of the pace on the ball. That is an absolutely outrageous effort. Base of the post. It comes out. And luckily for Serbia, they get away with it. But this is what we're talking about. The game could be one of these sort of situations where Serbia can't really do anything about it. It's just a long shot, a pot shot, which ends up in the back of the net.
I mean, this is coming from the left back. You in Serbia there with the Brazil's left back 30 yards out from goal. Yeah, you're pretty happy not to put necessarily too much pressure on him, but then he can do that, and it's an incredible effort, and they've got away with that. Luckily, Serbia. As again, Vanja Milinkovic-Savic with a really good starting position, because there was a slightly too much on that pass. There was trouble there.
The more this game goes on, the more I really want Serbia to get something from this game, because it's been a valiant effort from them.
It has.
And they pose a threat going forward as well.
I think they've got to make sure that they don't drop too deep, that they don't stop playing, because
Yeah,
I think
suddenly
ultimately Brazil will be able
becomes
to.
attack against defense.
Yeah, they'll be able to find a goal if Serbia completely neglect sort of offensive duties.
Hmm.
I wonder
Serbia have
if we'll
Brazil.
soon see a change from Brazil here. I think
Yeah, I'd
they've
be
been
surprised.
so much better this half than they were in the first half, but I wonder if they just need to change things up. What do you think?
Maybe. I mean, they've got. I think Gabriel Jesus could be the man to come on to replace Richarlison, who's been pretty isolated in this game. Maybe a bit of
Yeah.
Jesus, or I mean, Rodrigo. You can make a case for any of those attacking players to come on, and Rafinha cuts inside here. That's a I think that was Neymar miscontrolled it, and Serbia clear only as far as just outside the final third, and Brazil come again, waves and waves of attack. Good drop of the shoulder there, Neymar.
It's in. It's
What
in.
a save, and the rebound's in. And that is 1-0 to Brazil. And it's Richarlison, the man I was just saying should come off.
It's a really, really good save from Milinkovic Savic, and he's so unlucky that it falls straight into the path of Richarlison. I'm sure they'll check this for an offside, as I imagine it was pretty tight. Ball breaks to Vinicius Junior on the left-hand side of the box. He opens his body, tries to curl it into that far post. It's a good save, but Richarlison's there to tap it home. And I think, given the way that the first 15 minutes of this half have gone, Jack, I think Brazil deserved that. They deserved that.
It's deserved. Let's have a look at the replay. Let's see. There's no offside
comfortably
there.
onside, and I think Serbia just a little bit guilty of ball watching there. And it's good from Richarlison. He's so switched on. He's ready for that rebound. And unfortunately, because he's had such a good game, it's Pavlovic who just seems to switch off slightly, and Richarlison steals in front of him.
And that's Neymar's trickery inside the box causes all sorts of issues. Oh, I feel a bit deflated after that, because we really want Serbia to do well and do something in this tournament. But of course, this is the toughest game in the group. You're not going to be defined by this game.
No, quite right.
There's only three, but
the tricky thing for them now is that they're going to have to try and do something slightly different. They're going to have to be a bit braver now and take some more risks, which obviously against that front four of Brazil is going to be dangerous. As Dusan Tadic
really see the flare of it.
Dusan Tadic goes down.
Ref, come on, man!
Can't quite believe that that's not been given as a free kick.
Yeah, it can't come out as well. Well, the game is crying out for Andres Pereira. That was just before the goal as well. I'm amazed that's not been given to Serbia. That free kick. It's Lukic who's just been booked. Which that's the third yellow.
Again, is not the ideal result for Serbia. Is they replace one central midfielder on a yellow card, and another one picks one up. And as this game gets more stretched, there are going to be those moments where I think you're going to need to be able to take that tactical yellow card to stop Brazil counterattacks. I think we might see some changes here from Serbia. I wouldn't be surprised to see Filip Kostic come on, especially just to provide a little bit more attacking threat down that left flank, to provide a little bit more service to Mitro, to Milinkovic Savic. It looks like they're making two changes actually, with Lazovic coming on and Dusan Vlahovic. It'll be interesting to see if that means Mitrovic is coming off or staying on.
16. That's the man who's just been booked. I think he's coming off. And it's Milenovic. He's also coming off.
It's an interesting change, this one. I think that this might signal just a slight change of shape from Serbia, because that's the left wing back coming off in Mladenovic and Vlahovic, the striker, coming on. I think it looks like to me they've switched to a 4 at the back.
Yeah,
it's a big move, and quite early on in this game, I think, for them to do it. But it'd be interesting to see.
It's 3 games you've got in the group that you've got to go for it, even if against the best opposition. We've seen Japan, Saudi Arabia, it's had more aggressive against the better teams when they go a goal down. They've reaped the rewards from that. I wonder if Serbia can do the same. And I'd argue that they've got better attacking quality than those 2 teams I just mentioned.
It looks like that Mitrovic is going to be playing in front of both Tadic and Vlahovic, who's dropping a bit deeper. But I'm sure as they move into that attacking phase, he'll shift up onto that defensive line as well, which gives Brazil something to think about. You've got two very, very accomplished strikers on the pitch now for Serbia. You know, one who's scoring goals for Juventus, and another who's scoring goals for Fulham in the Premier League. It's going to give Thiago Silva and Marquinhos something to think about.
Serbia just having a bit of spell on the ball now, and maybe a chance to come forward into the final third.
And this is the danger as Brazil counter straight.
There's the gaps.
It's a fantastic
this could be a goal,
challenge. It's
brilliant tackle.
Really good talent.
Vinicius might recover this. He does. He turns. Oh dear, oh dear.
He's got that all wrong.
Vinicius Junior.
It's a fantastic bit of defending from. Yeah, we'll never forget that penalty against Everton. But it's. I think they deserve so much credit, the Serbian centre backs here. I mean, it's a fantastic challenge from Milenkovic, as it looked like Brazil were away, and facing a one-on-one situation with Neymar to come out on top is very impressive. And Neymar's just stayed down slightly. I think just picked up a knock from that challenge, but looks like he's going to be okay. But that's what they've got to be careful of, Jack, isn't it? I mean, there's still 25 minutes at least.
Though, you have to chase the game.
Yeah, I just wonder if they've gone a little bit too early on this one, because they're running a real risk now without having that protection, and I think Brazil will drop a little bit deeper and Serbia will have more of the ball, but that's because Brazil know that they can now hit on the counter attack. And when you're talking the pace of Vinicius, Rafinha, Neymar, and Richarlison, it's going to be really hard to deal with.
I wonder if they do equalise as well. They can't quite drop into that 5 because of the substitutions they've made, the 3 and 5 at the back. So it's a risk, but one you have to take. It's the World Cup. It comes every 4 years, and I think that might be a corner to Serbia. It is.
Again,
come on.
And this is where they've got to make the most of these situations. We've said it before, but now again you add Vlahovic as a target into this area as well. They're a real threat from set pieces, I think, and Dusan Tadic is very good from dead ball situations. As it comes over, they win the header, and it's Pavlovic, who has been involved in every single part of this game, who wins the header, and he just gets underneath it and can't get it on target.
That's encouraging though for Serbia. They'll fancy their chances from set pieces. Mitrovic was just behind him as well, and they've got some attacking threats in that box, haven't they? I think Serbia will come good in this tournament. I think in the next game, if they play the system right, I think they've got it. I think they've got a chance.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how they adapt going forward. Obviously, coming up against Cameroon, they'll be slightly bigger favourites for that as they win the ball back in a good area, but Vlahovic touches poor, and then
he's going to concede. That's silly.
Has he given away a foul, or they've given the corner? He's gotten away with it, and again another chance for Serbia. They're just growing here, JK. They're just starting to put a little bit of pressure on.
There'll be some nerves in that Brazil camp, I'm sure, but can they make use of one of these set pieces? Tadic over it. Come on. Here it goes. Oh!
Gosh.
Oh!
Mitrovic so nearly at the back post, tucking that in. It's a brilliant ball in from Tadic. I can't see who gets the first nick on it. It's actually a Brazil head. It comes off. Danilo clears away at the far post, and then Milenkovic Savic back across the face of goal. But it's really good defending from Marquinhos.
Marquinhos is brilliant there.
Mitrovic lurking, but that's a fantastic bit of defending from Marquinhos to head away and be aware of that danger. There's something here for them. There's something in this game for Serbia now.
20 minutes to go, plus any additional time. And I tell you what, that's the best chance of the game for Serbia, surely.
Definitely. So that's what, just as Serbia are a big team, this Brazil side isn't. There's not a lot of physical prowess in this team. It's a tricky front four. It's a
nice
not a lightweight midfield, but it's not the biggest. And they're going to have to be
Oh,
really
that's
careful
so
from set
frustrating.
pieces.
They had a chance there to play the ball wide. The ball didn't go in the right direction and it deflected into Alisson's path. You do sense there's another goal in this, whether Serbia get it or Brazil get it on the break.
I think they just need to work on that final ball. There's going to be, just based on the change they've made, they're going to be able to get themselves into decent positions to put a ball in, but it's so important that they get that right. And they've got to be so careful when Brazil win the ball back in dangerous areas, because they're going to break at such high speed. As I think that was Neymar that time giving the ball away. They've still been sloppy in this game, Brazil.
No, they haven't played their best. They haven't been as impressive as we've seen England, Spain, France in this tournament. Vinny J's got it now. Nice. Well dealt with.
Well dealt with, but again, sloppy from Brazil. You'd expect so much more from them, and surprising that they've got this deep into the game, and despite how they've played, they've not made a change yet. I wouldn't be surprised if they try and shore things up. Maybe see Paqueta come off here. You know, you've got the likes of Fred or Fabinho who could maybe come on into this game There we go. So see maybe Fred coming on for Paqueta just to add a bit of defensive solidity. I would have been tempted to send on Fabinho. No, I'd have been tempted to send on Fabinho just for that set piece threat. You need, I think they need another bit of height in that area, but I think it's a sensible move from Brazil.
So we're almost getting caught out there, and they clear the ball, but only as far as Brazil would pick it back up on the halfway line, and they come forward again. Vinicius Jr. taking on his man.
That is absolutely exceptional from Richarlison.
Wow, what a goal. Goal of the tournament so far.
Unbelievable.
What a goal. That was incredible. You got to hand it to them. And that's what I'm saying, moment of quality. I know it's already 1-0. It was already 1-0, but wow.
That's absolutely fantastic, Jack. I mean, Vinicius picking it up on the left flank, driving. It's a decent ball into the box, but it's behind Richarlison. And to take the first touch, which sort of pops the ball up in the air, and then in one movement to swing round it and hit it on the volley and put it in the bottom left corner, that is so good from him. And after being quiet for 60 minutes of this game, he has changed it. And that's, I mean, we watched the replays back of that.
What a goal.
It really is exceptional from Richarlison. It's
outside of the football as well from Vinicius Jr.
He gets his touch slightly wrong, but the way he adapts to swing round that's so good from him. And I guess as we were talking about at the start of this game, but he's entirely justified the decision to play him ahead of Gabriel Jesus, hasn't he?
There we go.
Come away with 2 goals, you can't criticise him at all.
Keeper's quite close to it, but I think the power just beat him from close range. If no one's watching, Richarlison just scored a beautiful overhead kick, scissor kick, and that might just kill the game. And that's tough on Serbia, who've done very well. But again, this is a tough game. The attacking quality that Brazil have got is just remarkable.
Yeah. No,
they haven't played the best, but they've got the job done, which does take characteristics of a winner of a World Cup as well.
It does, and they've definitely got room to grow. I think this Brazil team, as they look to make that change, as we said, Fred coming on for Paqueta, and it looks like Rodrigo might be coming on as well. I would maybe assume for Rafinha. But yeah, they've not been at their best at all, but they've had 2 moments of real quality, starting with the skill that we saw from Neymar for the first goal, and then the poaching abilities of Richarlison, and then Richarlison again with a spectacular finish. It's those moments that define games, and it doesn't matter that they've not been at their best, because they've got the individual quality to get them out of these sort of situations. And it's tough on Serbia, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel very sorry for Serbia, but given the first half performance as well, they did really, really well. But before the second goal, they had those 2 chances from the corners and they didn't take them. And you get punished against teams. And it wasn't on the break as we expected. It was just a routine cross, a good cross as well. And, it's going to be a long way back for Serbia now with 15 minutes to go. I expect Brazil will see this one out. But a goal in the next 5 minutes makes it very interesting if Serbia can get one.
It does, and it's we've said it throughout this game, but it's their unfortunately it's their final ball that have let them down, because in defence they've been really good, but they've just not been able to create enough to trouble Brazil, and I think that's what's cost them in this game. And it seems as though, given the way this game's going, that I think their confidence has just been knocked a little bit, and you can tell that they're a little bit winded by conceding that second.
Yeah, knock the stuffing out of them, definitely. And they're just trying to build up a little bit of play here, and that's brilliant from Casemiro. He's so good.
Mitro cutting a slightly frustrated figure now at the
yeah,
top
he
of
hasn't
the
got the
pitch.
service he would have wanted today, has he?
No, he definitely not. Definitely not. There's another really good bit of defending from Milenkovic there, who I think has also been impressive. Charge being run at by Rodrigo this time, and he stands him up and makes a really good challenge.
Thing is, if we look going forward against Cameroon, the threats that they've got, Toko Ekambi, Choupo-Moting, Brian Mbuemo, and you just think maybe with that less quality going forward that Cameroon pose, as I think Gabriel Jesus is looking to come on here for Brazil, you think that maybe Serbia might have some more joy against Cameroon and perhaps Switzerland as well in the final group game.
Yeah, you would hope so. And they, as we said, this game isn't going to define their World Cup campaign. Ultimately, it's the next two. It's the games against Cameroon and then Switzerland, which will determine whether they get out of this group. But there's enough positives, I think, for them to take out of this. But if they're gonna get games out of Cameroon, get points out of Cameroon and Switzerland, they really do need to improve in the final third, I think, because Mitro's had very little to feed off. As we see, Neymar is currently sat injured, which I imagine there's quite a lot of Brazilians currently watching and slightly worried by it. Whether it's time wasting or a genuine injury, it's hard to tell, but there'll be some concern, I imagine.
Yeah. Injured in 2014 through that back injury he got. Richarlison, the goal man today, scored twice, is coming off for Arsenal striker Gabriel Jesus. He comes on. It's just an amazing array of talent that Brazil have got, and like you say, they haven't played the best today, but I can still see them getting to minimum semi-finals with the attacking talent they've got.
Absolutely, and
I think they're going to have a field day against the other two teams, really.
I think depth is so important in a World Cup, because it is relentless, especially in the group stages. You're playing every 3 days. It's high intensity. Yes, the stadiums are air conditioned, but it's still pretty warm out there. And so to be able to have the depth that Brazil have, and I think there's players in this team who wouldn't be on any other nation's bench. So that works hugely in their favour, and the fact that they can sort of just take their foot off the pedal now and rest the legs of Richarlison. I wouldn't be surprised if they rest Neymar yet as he strolls off the pitch here.
I wonder if that's precautionary.
Yeah, I think it's a good opportunity for them to take it easy in the last 10 and set themselves up for their game against Switzerland.
They bring on Anthony of Manchester United. I mean, as if it couldn't get any more ridiculous, the flair they've got going forward. Anthony comes on for the final 10 or so minutes, and you know what? I think I tipped Brazil as the tournament winners before the tournament started, and we look at the last winners. Who were the last winners? France. They didn't quite get going in 2018 until the latter stage of the tournament, and grinded out that semi-final win against Belgium in very good style. You just sort of feel as though Brazil don't have to be at 100%, and they can still get past these teams. Definitely,
and there is something relatively friendly, I think, about the group that they've got, and this would probably be the sternest challenge, in the sense that I think Serbia are the grittiest of opponents that they'll face. They might not be the second best team in the group, but I think they were always the ones who are going to be most up for this as a physical contest, and that's what they've given Brazil. And for 65 minutes, it worked. But this is the perfect start for Brazil. This is exactly what they needed, and coming in as favourites is never easy in a World Cup. And so starting off with a win that maybe wasn't comfortable, but people will look at the scoreline, and it probably does reflect the pattern of the game, and there'll be high confidence.
What an effort!
that Casemiro, I think, hits the crossbar from the edge of the area. That is an incredible effort from the central midfielder as he pops onto the edge of the box, opens his body up and just bends one past Milenkovic-Savic, but off the crossbar.
Yeah, the quality is shown from Brazil in this second half.
Yeah, I think Serbia have tired here, JK. I think they know that the game's gone, and I don't think they quite have it in them to keep this effort up.
No, they've switched back to a 4 as well, so there is a little bit more space in those attacking areas for Brazil to come forward. There's another shot, great save. Good save. I think the keeper's been pretty good today. He's been beaten by a tap in, in the centre of the 6-yard area and an overhead kick. He can't really do much about those 2 goals.
No, I think they've got plenty of players who are coming out of this game with good credit in the bank. Vanya Milenkovic-Savic has been very good between the sticks. I think it's particularly Pavlovic and Milenkovic have been really good in the middle of that defence. As we say that, as Milenkovic sort of shoves Gabriel Jesus over in the box, but I think he's okay there. But it's a good bit of defending again.
There's that effort off the bar. Whew.
I think given how the game went earlier between Switzerland and Cameroon, and the creativity wasn't the best, I would say. And if Serbia can defend like this in those games, I think they'll find it hard to break them down. As Vanya Milenkovic-Savic makes another pretty good save from an effort from Fred, who probably should have passed the ball in that situation, but you can't blame him for having a shot 20 yards out with no one in front of him. It's a good save.
Brazil finding a bit more joy now. The spaces are opening up.
And now's the time for Alexander Mitrovic to come off.
That's fine. I'm happy with that. He's got 82 minutes, and I think overall his hold-up play has been pretty good. He just hasn't had the service. Yeah,
it's not been his fault, this result. The ball's not got to him frequently enough, and probably the right decision here just to rest his legs, make sure he's ready for the next game because they're going to need him.
It's incredible how the Fulham fan base have an affiliation with this Serbian national team, just over one player. I can't think of another national team that we've been rooting for so much because of a player that plays for Fulham over the years. Not even like the USA, anything like that. Sorry, Tony, the USA watching.
But he really, really just is Mr. Fulham, isn't he? He's the loyalty he's shown the club and the performances he's produced for the club. He's a player that is loved by all Fulham fans, and I don't think you can't give him any more compliment than that. The fact that there have been so many Fulham fans cheering on Serbia tonight, despite having no affiliation with them at all.
Exactly. That might be a corner. I just saw 22 shots, 10 on target from Brazil in this game. A lot of them coming in the second half, of course.
Yeah.
Just seeing some shots from some Serbian fans as well, looking a little bit downbeat.
As Rick says, I do think Serbia have to be careful. It could go quite sideways for them if they're not careful. I think they've eased off. They're feeling, a little bit deflated, but they can't afford to go out and ship 3 or 4 here. But they've got a corner. Yeah. Serbia have got a corner and a chance. With 5 minutes left, if they can make anything happen from this set piece, it's a shame that this comes just as Mitrovic has been taken off.
Yeah, they've still got some threats in the box, and can they pull one back here? Not only to make it game on, but for a bit of goal difference as well.
It's well defended again from Brazil.
Yeah, Brazil have actually defended pretty well when they've needed to. Marquinhos, Thiago Silva, fantastic centre backs, and Eder Militao on the bench. I mean, it's ridiculous when you really think about it.
Yeah, no, they've been, they've not been tested a huge amount, but they've dealt with every situation very impressively at the back, Brazil, and I mean that counts towards the experience you've got along that back line, because it's not just the 2 centre backs. It's Danilo and Alexandro who have been playing again in the Serie A for a good number of years, both in their 30s now. There's so much experience there.
It's the onside. He might be. I think the flag stays down. Chance for Brazil. Ball comes in, well defended. I'm just trying to think of a team who might give Brazil some sort of problem in the latter stage of the tournament. And, Spain, with all their attacking qualities and the goals they scored yesterday, their build up is slow. They have to pace it up a little bit to try and give Brazil a threat at the back. But I'm just trying to think of a team. Maybe France with Mbappe.
Yeah, I think France are always going to be a threat. As it's a decent effort from Rodrigo. That it's turned into very one-sided game since that second goal went in. I think Brazil have really started to take control of this game, but you've got to be careful against France, of course, because you've got that threat of Mbappe, but you've also you've got players like Olivier Giroud who bring other players into play. That's a dangerous front line, and yes, Thiago Silva is a very good centre back, but in a foot race with Mbappe, there's only one person who's going to win that. And so I think that's a team that they absolutely would have to watch out for.
Another ridiculous substitution. Rafinha off, Martinelli on. I mean, their depth is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane.
It very much feels like this could be Brazil's year when you're just looking at the substitutions they're making. No other team could do this. There's no other team. Most sides, I would say, in this World Cup, you can run through their starting 11 and maybe find one or two gaps in their team. And if you can't, usually it means they've not got much on the bench. But Brazil are just stacked in every area.
I think I'm going to make a little bold prediction here. Is Martinelli on? Oh, ball across the box.
Once again, Pavlovic cleaning up at the far post.
I'm thinking about the longevity of games and how they can go to extra time in the latter stages. And I think Brazil will just benefit from that. And I'm going to make a bold prediction and say that the final of the World Cup is going to be England versus Brazil.
Very bold, very bold. And
I think Brazil will win it due to the depth, and it will be in extra time.
I'm going to hold you to that, JK. That's now on record.
I don't want that to happen. I'll cry buckets.
As we see, they've just flashed up on screen there, the forced turnovers in this game. And we spoke at the start about how important Casemiro is going to be here as that sole defensive midfielder in this Brazil side. And he has turned the ball over 6 times more than anyone else, 16 turnovers from him. And, that's... Again, he's such an experienced and fantastic holding midfielder, definitely one of the best in the world. And I guess you can afford to play a front four and a creative midfielder behind that if you've got a defensive midfielder as good as Casemiro sweeping up all the time.
You think about that from a Manchester United point of view. I know they've got the likes of Fred McTominay in midfield, Bruno Fernandes as a attacking midfielder. I just feel like if Casemiro is at the base of the field, United can get so much more out of him. And obviously, maybe a potential new takeover for Manchester United next season could look very interesting for them. They've got rid of Ronaldo now. And maybe, with the likes of Antony and Rashford, I think they need to upgrade on a new striker. Martial might go. Eriksen obviously still in midfield. There is a chance that United can once again challenge for that title with Casemiro at the base of midfield. Definitely.
He's been very, very impressive today. And, that ability just to turn over possession, to pass the ball around, to be composed in possession and just keep things ticking as well is everything you want from a midfielder who sat at the base. Just that ability to know exactly where he's going to give the ball every time he receives it, and the ability to read the game out of possession, to sniff out counterattacks. He's a very, very impressive footballer.
Yeah, he's brilliant. I'm looking forward to watching him for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
There's a great point from Rick here about you could even speak about the players that didn't make this Brazil squad, which is so true. They're
Andres Pereira, Willian,
Carlos Vinicius.
Yeah, 7 added minutes here. Maybe a chance for 7 if they get one now. It's game on, and suddenly the pendulum could swing. But I think Brazil might see this out for 3 points. Yeah. Who would you say was unlucky to miss out? Despite the Fulham tongue-in-cheek remarks we're making about the Brazil squad, Firmino obviously missed out on the squad.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Bobby Firmino didn't have the best of seasons last year and started quite slowly this year, but he really picked up form and he was Klopp started to prefer him towards the back end of the first half of the season. But then you look at who's gone ahead of him, and it's entirely justified. You know, you wouldn't play him over Jesus or Richarlison, and you've also got Pedro on the bench as well, who plays in Brazil. And I think it's entirely justified, and that's the crazy thing, is that you've got players of that quality who are sat at home because you can't justify picking them.
The 26-man squad, and genuinely, like, Brazil, I can't remember a time in my time of watching a World Cup where I've seen a squad depth quite like this. I think France 2018 was pretty impressive. You know, they had like Pogba, and Mbappe was coming good at that time. But in terms of the Brazil squads we've seen over the years, apologize, my Wi-Fi's dropped a little bit. The Brazil squad we've seen from over the years, and have the likes of like Joe up front, or like Fred who would sit up front. But this is a completely different kettle of fish, and it's what makes it so exciting, really, to watch Brazil.
Oh, Pavlovic makes a poor challenge there. He's got to be careful because he's on a yellow card, but they clear away, and I think he's gotten away with one there because it might have been Rodrigo who didn't go down. As Danilo just pulls up slightly here for Brazil, which is a slight concern for them.
Could be Dani Alves' final contribution to Brazil shirt in this World Cup. Could be his time.
I mean, I think it definitely makes them weaker without Danilo. But you know, when you're talking about the experience that you can throw on, even though he's 39, Dani Alves is someone again who's done everything in football.
Talk about that squad depth. I was trying to rack my brains. I maybe think of the 2010 squad that Spain had. You know, Fernando Torres, David Villa, Iniesta, Xavi, Busquets, Puyol. Just unbelievable. Sergio Ramos, Casillas, like unbelievable talent.
I think the exciting thing about this Brazil side as well is that you look at the players they have on the bench and their ages. They have got experience in there, but they've also got a real good group of young, talented players. When you're looking at the players who they brought on in this game, you know, Rodrigo, Anthony, Martinelli, Jesus, these are players who, you know, probably aren't going to hit their prime. You know, Jesus maybe in a couple of years, but the other three, they've got 4 or 5 years at least until they're in their prime.
I mean, we've seen Rodrigo, Vinicius already, you know, winning Champions Leagues for Real Madrid. Martinelli and Jesus could win a Premier League title with Arsenal this season. You never know. But it's extremely exciting. And, you know, Thiago Silva won't be playing at the next World Cup, but I'm sure Militao will probably be a part of it. There'll be some more centre-backs coming through.
Well, you've got
Bremer missed out, didn't he?
Bremer's on the bench today. You know, you know, he's been at the back for Juventus, who, you know, haven't had a great season, but that's a player who has picked up a lot of credit in Italy, and, you know, is highly coveted there.
I mean, was that Rodrigo who's down the wing there? I mean, the speed is absolutely extraordinary. I'd love to go and see this Brazil team in real life, and sometimes they play down in England. They played at the Emirates a couple of years ago, maybe. I'd love to go and see them. They're absolutely fantastic to watch. Okay, so every team's played now. Every team's played. I think we talked about it earlier about who's the strongest. We said Spain and England perhaps, and France. But if I had to push you for a winner, we've seen Brazil as well.
Coming into this, it was, you know, as everyone pretty much had Brazil as the favourites for the tournament. I wouldn't say what I've seen today necessarily strengthens that. In a way, it does, because they've not been great, but they've ended up being comfortable still. Yeah, and they've got room to grow in this tournament. But they haven't been the most impressive team so far. I think you could say that. But it's so hard to look past the individual quality and the depth, because no other team has this. And I think Spain are not quite ready for it yet. I think England, we're missing a player or two, both in the starting 11 and on the bench, I think, that would really, you know, make us a real threat. And France, I think one of the things they're going to miss so much is Karim Benzema. So and, you know, you can't write off Argentina yet just because of that first result. They were they weren't necessarily unimpressive against Saudi Arabia, but they've definitely got a lot more to offer. But it's so hard to look past Brazil, isn't it?
We haven't mentioned one team tonight who looked okay in their opening game and won it in the end quite comfortably, but didn't look overall very impressive. And that was Netherlands.
Mm.
And we have seen Portugal as well score 3 today, and they've got Ronaldo. It's certainly intriguing.
It is. There's, I think for both for the Dutch and for Portugal, there's just a little bit of a lack of balance that I think they don't have quite the full package that some of the other teams have.
Yeah,
but I think it's a good Portugal side. I think they look very good across the park. I think having Danilo Pereira at centre back, I think they're probably missing someone to play alongside. They're missing someone to play alongside Ruben Diaz, and I think that will probably cost them slightly. And so the teams that I think are always most dangerous are those ones that you look through that team, you struggle to find a weakness, because teams in tournament football, they'll exploit your weaknesses. They will latch onto it.
Yeah. And obviously, one recognised centre back in Ruben Dias. And there's the full-time whistle. I'll push you for one last question before we go. An underdog. We've seen some shock wins already. Japan, Saudi Arabia. Is there that one team? We mentioned Serbia within that bracket that they could go on and do very well. But is there a team that can sort of push for the quarters, push for potentially the semis, and be that underdog of the tournament?
That's an interesting question. I think that's a tricky one. I don't know. I think the obvious answer probably initially coming into this tournament may have been but they're such an a dark horse. They get spoken about it so much that they stopped being an underdog. Would have been Denmark, but they weren't overly impressive initially. In terms
Tunisia were great, actually.
Yeah, Tunisia were good, and I think I've been impressed by those teams. I was impressed by Morocco as well. I thought they were really resilient and strong in their game against Croatia. Let's say Japan. I think with that win, and I think Spain are likely to beat Germany, which means Japan are in the driving seat to get out of that group. They could be, they were fun to watch. They were put in an incredible effort, and it'd be nice to see an Asian country progress through to a good stage of this competition. Who's your underdog?
Well, I'm stuck between a couple because I wasn't absolutely blown away by Uruguay today, and I thought South Korea actually held their own, and the quality they got with Son going forward as well. They actually did really, really well, and I'd be interested to see if they could pit that second place ahead of Uruguay if they beat Ghana and get a result out of Portugal. But I also look at Ecuador. But the problem with Ecuador is they might run into us in the next round, and I think that we have the better of them. I think we will have the beating of them. So I like Japan, but to be different, I'll say maybe South Korea.
Yeah.
Could maybe push quarters.
Yeah.
Just because they've got that bit of quality going forward, and they did look very organised today, and limited the likes of Suarez, Nunez, and Cavani.
They've got Kim Min-jae at the back, who has been exceptional for Napoli this season. So they've got standout players, and you wouldn't want to face them.
Matt, thanks so much for sticking with us. He says, great watch along, very enjoyable. Cheers, chaps. Take care. Take care yourself as well. Thank you so much for watching. I think we'll be back with the next watch along, which I think is Serbia versus Switzerland.
Which I think that's next Thursday.
Stephen. Yeah. Myself and Stephen will be here watching the game again. Guys, thanks so much for watching. It's finished Brazil 2, Serbia 0. Mitrovic, obviously the man we were here to watch. He did well. He came off at about the 82nd minute, but it wasn't quite enough for Serbia tonight. Brazil were fantastic in that second half.
Yeah, they were. Well, thank you so much for watching, guys. JK, it's been a pleasure to join you.
Thank you very much. I'm off to the pub.
Enjoy and have a good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in.
Dan, thanks so much for being here. We'll be back soon with another watch along, and keep your eyes and ears peeled for the next podcast that drops in your podcast feed as well. Thanks so much for watching, and enjoy the rest of the World Cup, and come on, England.